In this video, I will introduce you to two new Alteryx tools. So the tools are Formula and Summarize, and I'm going to illustrate these two tools with a data set, an inventory data set. So the Formula tool is part of the data preparation category. You can see it right here. So I've made it a favorite. And then the Summarize tool, which I've also made a favorite, is in the transform category of tools. So these two tools are very, very powerful. I'm actually going to show you as well the sort tool. So we're going to be using that as well. So let's get started. Let's first bring in the data. So you should know how to do that with an input data tool. And the data set, I have it on my desktop. So let's just go find it here. I've uploaded this same data set to Brightspace, so you all have access to it. The same one that's on my desktop. And let's attach a browse tool so we can view the data. Just see what it looks like here. Let's run our workflow. So you can see we have these variables. Now the end date. So this data set, this is the ending inventory for a fictitious company. The fictitious company's name is Bibitor. And Bibitor is a company that sells wine and spirits. So they sell alcohol. So wine, any type of alcohol. And this is the data set that has details about Bibitor's ending inventory as of this date. So their June 30th, 2016 ending inventory consists of all these items. This variable is the inventory ID. This is the store. This is which store they sell this particular item in. They have multiple stores. They're a retail alcohol distributor. This is the brand number, and you can see the inventory ID first starts with the store, then the actual item, and then the brand number. And then this is a description of the item. This is the size of bottle they sell the item in. So the size of the volume of the liquid. Most of the things they sell are 750 milliliters, but we do have other things in here. This is how many units they have on hand as of the end of June 2016 of this item. And this is the sales price. This is what they sell 1 unit of this item for. So a 750 milliliter bottle they sell for $12.99 of this particular item. And this is the purchase price. So the S price is the sales price and the P price is the purchase price. This is what they pay whenever they buy, when they purchase this item from their supplier. So Bibitor doesn't make alcohol themselves. They're just a retailer. They buy it from suppliers and then they mark up the price and sell it to the end consumer. So that's the data. So let's illustrate the first tool we want to learn is the formula tool. So let's illustrate the formula tool. So, but first let's actually bring in a select tool, and we're going to use this select tool to change the data type of the on-hand variable and the S price variable and the P price variable, because we're going to be doing arithmetic calculations with these variables. So we need to change their data type from string to some numeric data type. And the numeric data type that you should just always by default change a variable to, if you want it to be numeric, is double. Because double allows for unlimited, well, not unlimited, but many decimal place accuracy. So we'll do that. Next, let's use the formula tool. Now what I want to do, if we go back to our original data here and look at it, I want to create a new variable, which will be the cost. So what we'd like to do is figure out what is the dollar value of their ending inventory. And the dollar value of their ending inventory would be since we have for each item, we have how many units they have on hand and we have the purchase price, we can actually do specific identification, and we can just multiply for each item the number of units on hand times the purchase price, and that's the cost for that item. And then add up all those costs, and that will be the dollar value of their ending inventory. We don't have to use LIFO or FIFO or weighted average or some method to estimate the dollar value of ending inventory because we have all the purchase prices here. And with knowledge of Alteryx and programming, we can quickly figure it out. So let's create a new variable. We'll call it cost. And that's going to be the product of the on-hand variable and the p-price variable. So I clicked on the formula tool. I dragged and dropped it onto the canvas. And if you click on it, the tool configuration for the tool comes up over here. And this is what you can do with the formula tool. We can create a new variable right here. So we can either modify one of our existing variables, like suppose if we wanted to take on-hand variable and multiply it by 4 for some reason, then we could choose that variable and we could multiply it by 4. But generally, you don't want to modify an existing variable. You want to create a new variable. So if you wanted to modify the on-hand variable, multiply it by 4, then you would create a new variable, and then that new variable would be the on-hand variable times 4, rather than modifying the on-hand variable itself. Because once you modify it, then it's you can't see what it looked like before. I mean, you can if you go back to a previous step in your workflow, which is a cool thing about Alteryx. But it's generally best practice to create a new variable. Now, we don't want to modify any of these variables. What we want to do is we want to take the on-hand variable as is, and we want to multiply it by the purchase price variable as is. And we want that new variable to be the cost variable. We'll call it cost. So let's add a column. So add a new variable, add a new field. We'll call it cost. And cost, this is where we write our formula right here. You can see f of x. So suggestions of different functions we could use right here in our formula. If you click that, it gives you suggestions. There's all sorts of things you can do. You could find, cosine of something, trigonometry. There's all sorts of stuff you can do, but we're not going to do all that. And then x is a list of your things that you can modify, or your current fields that you can write a formula based on. And then this right here folder, so once you write a formula, you can hit the save icon and it'll save it, and you can name it. You can name it something, so that if you have to always write that particular formula, it's saved under whatever name you gave it. And then you can go here to your saved expressions and you can pull it right up. I don't have any saved expressions. So that's for formulas that you do all the time. You can save them so you don't have to always type them in. That's what these two things are. So save it, and then you can go in here. And it automatically saves your most recent expressions, the most recent ones that you've done when you were using this tool. So let's let this cost variable equal the on-hand variable multiplied by the purchase price variable. So the way I pop the variables up here, if you just type a left bracket, then it pulls up the list of variables. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just click this X here and find the on-hand variable. Then multiply that by, click the X, the purchase price variable. and that will be our cost for each item. And we want the data type of this new variable, so this variable cost, we want the data type to be double, because we're going to do some arithmetic operations on this cost variable. And you can write multiple formulas in this formula tool. So we can add another formula by clicking the plus and add another formula here. And the way the formula tool works is it works from top down. It does whatever's in the first expression box first, and then after that it does the next one, and then so forth. Let's see what other formula we're going to add with this data. So let's go back to our data. So we'll have our cost variable, and it'll make the new variable cost, it'll append it to the right of our current data set. So the new field will be over here in column number 10, I guess, because we have 9 fields right here. It says 9 of 9. So field 10 will be the cost variable, which we've just written a formula to create once we run the workflow. We haven't run the workflow yet, though. But once we run this workflow, then the 10th field will be the cost field. It'll be the product of the on-hand variable and the price, the purchase price. And then the 11th column, let's create another field as well, and let that be the product of the on-hand variable and the sales price. So that would be our projected revenue. So if we were to sell these 12 units of this product right here with this description, if we were to sell these 12, we have 12 as of 6/30/2016. But if we were to sell these 12 units, in the future, what would our projected revenue be? Well, we would get, this is our sales price per unit, and so our projected revenue would just be the 12 times the 12.99. So let's create another field. We'll call that the projected revenue, and that'll be the product of on-hand and S price. So we can just add another formula here. We'll call the field projected revenue, and that'll just be the product of. Now here I'm going to just type the left bracket to pull up the variables instead of hitting X, just because usually that's faster. It's a product times the sales price. We want that also to be a double. This projected revenue variable, we want it to be double. All right, so now we can run our workflow. And then we can look, if we drag and drop a browse tool here, we can look at what the data looks like now. Let me run it again here. You can see here's our cost variable that it's added, which is, you can verify that that is just the product of the on-hand variable and the purchase price variable. And then here's our projected revenue variable. Now with these two variables created, you could see that we could figure out the profit, right? Our projected profit, which would just be the difference between our projected revenue and our cost. If we were to sell all 12 of these items, what profit would we make? We would make, 155.88 minus the 111.36, assuming we're able to sell each of these 12 items for this sales price, 12.99. So let's go back to our formula tool and add another formula, and we'll call it projected profit. And that'll just be the difference between projected revenue and cost. And this projected profit variable, we want to make a numeric data type. So let's make it a double. So we have these three formulas here, you see, that we're doing with this formula tool. So you can minimize them by doing this, and then you can maximize them by, clicking. And we can add as many formulas as we want. If we want to remove one of the formulas, we should just hit this trash can icon, and it removes the formula. So let's run the workflow again, because I've gone back and edited the formula tool. Now we look at the browse, and you'll see our data now has projected profit. Just the difference between projected revenue and projected cost for each line item. All right. Now, originally I had said we want to find the dollar value of our ending inventory. So the dollar value of our ending inventory would just be get the sum of the cost column, right? because each line item of this data set is one item of our inventory, or it's one item, but doesn't mean one unit. It just means this is all the information about this particular product. We have 12 units on hand. Those units cost us this much. And so if that was our only unit, if this was our only product at the end of the month, our ending inventory would be valued at $111.36. But we have another product, this product right here. For that product, we have 11 units on hand, and those 11 units cost us $315.37. So if these were our only two products in our ending inventory, then our ending inventory would be valued at the sum of $111.36 and $315.37. So we want to find the ending value of all of our inventory. So we need to basically use a summarize tool to sum the cost column. And with the summarize tool, you can do lots of things, not just that, but other things. But let's introduce the summarize tool in the context of doing just what I described. So I drag and drop a summarize tool onto the canvas. Again, the summarize tool, I've made it a favorite. It's in the transform category. So if you don't see it, go to the transform category and you'll see it right here. The formula tool, again, I made it a favorite, but it's in the data preparation category. It's right here. So the summarize tool, if we look over here at tool configuration, once you click on it, we have two areas. We have fields and we have actions. So the fields, we can do things with the fields down here in the actions box. So what I want to do is just click the cost field. Now what do we want to do with the cost field? So down here, we select what we want to do. I just want the sum. And because the cost field is double, we made it a double data type. So it's a numeric data type. Then we can actually compute the sum of that field. So let's start over. Let's get rid of this. So to get rid of this, you just hit this. It gets rid of it. If we were to find take one of these other variables that's not a numeric data type, like the size. If we try to compute the sum of that variable, you see it's grayed out because you can't do arithmetic operations like sum, or down here in the numeric, if you want the average, the median, the percentile, the mode, you can get the mode, standard deviation, variance. These are all grayed out because that field is not a numeric data type. It's a string. But the cost field, we can compute sum. We can compute, if we wanted to, we can compute the average. We can compute that's the mean. We can compute the median. We can compute standard deviation. We can compute a lot of things, as you can see. Whoops, I clicked on something else. Click back here. So all we want to do is know the sum of the cost field. So let's highlight these and just get rid of them. And let's run the workflow. And attach a browse tool here. Run it again. I forgot. You could attach the browse tool and then just run it once. It's fine. I forgot to run it in between. And there it is. There's the sum of our cost field. So this is the dollar value of our ending inventory. Bibitor, we're Bibitor, and we sell, we're a fictitious company. We sell wine and spirits. We're a retail liquor company. And this is the dollar value of our ending inventory for as of June 30th, 2016. It looks to be $52,257,124.52. So on our balance sheet, as of June 30th, 2016, our inventory, this is the number that would appear on the balance sheet, rounded to the nearest dollar. All right, what else can we do with the summarize tool? We can do lots of stuff. Let's go back to our data. suppose I would like to know what our profit is by store. So which store is the most profitable? I know this is our projected profit because we haven't sold any of these items yet. But if we were to sell everything that's in our ending inventory, and our projected profit variable then would come into play, which store would be the most profitable? So to figure that out, we need to be able to sum the projected profit column by store number. So store number 1, we just sum up all the projected profit for store number 1. But then when we change to a different store, like store number 2 right here, then the sum starts over. So we get the sum by store. So with the summarize tool, we can do that. So let's do that. Let's take away this cost sum. And let's go to store. So what we want to do is we want to group by. Group by is very, very important. So grouping by store, we want to sum the projected profit variable. And we could also get a count. The count would just be how many different items of inventory per store. So like store 2, this is an item in store 2, this is a different item in store 2, a different brand number. This is a different item in store 2. So when we do the count, it's going to count how many items or how many unique items of inventory per store. And then we could also add on hand, we could sum. So grouping by store, we're going to do these things: sum the projected profit variable, count the projected profit variable, count how many items there are. We could also sum the on hand. So for each item, how many units do we have by store? And then we can run this. And here's what the results will look like. So you see there's 79 rows. So there's 79 unique stores that we sell our items in. Store 1, here's the projected profit we would get if we sold everything that we have in store 1. So we have 2,940 different brands of liquor that we sell in store 1. And those 2,940 different brands, if we sum up all the units we have on hand, so for one of those brands we might only have 3 units on hand, for another one of those brands we might have 20 units on hand, but if we sum them all up, there's that many units on hand. It's that many individual bottles that we could sell. And if we sold all those, that would be our projected profit. So you can see the summarize tool is very powerful. Now what we would like to do is sort this data so that the stores, so we would like to sort this data on this sum of projected profit variable now, right? We want the stores that have the highest projected profit at the top and the stores with the lowest at the bottom. So we want to sort this data by the sum of the projected profit variable in descending order. So one way to do it is we can just go to this variable right here, left click right on these 3 dots, go to sort, hit sort, sorry, do it again, go to sort, change this to sort descending, and then hit apply. Now we've sorted our data based on this variable right here. That's why this variable has the 3 dots beside it. The other variables don't. They do if you like hover over it, but they don't by default. So we've sorted our data based on this variable and in descending order. So store 34 would be our most profitable store if we sold everything that we had in it. Store 67 would be our next most profitable store. And if we go down to the bottom, store 46 would be our least profitable store. We don't have very much inventory in that store. We only have 62 different brands of liquor, or 247 units across those 62 brands. If we sold all 247 units, our profit would be $1,875 in that store, which is very small, given the fact that we are a big liquor retailer. So another way to another way to sort data is to use a sort tool. So the way I just described sorting, go back here, is kind of the manual way to do it, but it's not the most efficient way. And also, you can't do multiple sorts. So if we wanted to sort in descending order based on the sum of projected profit variable, and then once the data is sorted on that, we further sort on the count variable, let's say, then you can't do that this way. You need to use a sort tool. So if we go to attach a sort tool, now that's in my favorites, and if you don't have it in your favorites, you can find the sort tool in the data preparation category. The data preparation category has lots of tools, probably the biggest category in Alteryx. So find the sort tool. It's in my favorites. And drag and drop it, attach it to the summarize tool here, and you can see here's the sort. And now what we want to do is just sort the sum of projected profit in descending order, which I've already done that manually, but this is how you do it with the sort tool. We'll attach a browse tool, and then we'll run. And you see the same thing what we saw before, because I had done it manually. I'd done the manual sorting. Let's say we want to sort our data a different way. Let's go back to our original data before we computed any sums. And so we could sort, this is our total inventory, right? This is all of our inventory. We could sort this data based on the description category if we wanted to, in alphabetical order. To do that, you would use the sort tool. So let's drag and drop the sort tool. And we'll sort based on the description in ascending alphabetical order. And you see this box, use dictionary order? We probably want to check that box for a character variable, because then it will use a dictionary order when it sorts. And what dictionary order means is, let's look at our data again. Suppose this product with this description, GE, it's, what is it, Gekaiken black and gold sake. Let's suppose the next product also started with a G. Second letter was also an E, but then the third letter is an R. Then the way it would sort these two, it was, if the first letters are the same, then it moves to the second letter. If those are the same, then it moves to the third letter, and that's how it sorts based on which would have the the earliest third letter in the alphabet. That's dictionary order, right? So if you go back here to the sort tool, always check this box, use dictionary order. It can never hurt you, it can only help you. When it comes to numbers, dictionary order doesn't matter. It's only with words and stuff. So let's attach a browse tool to that, and then we're going to run our workflow, just so you can see what it would look like. And you can see now our data is sorted based on the description variable in ascending order. So any description that starts with a number, that's coming first, and then after that, we get everything starting with an A, and then, as you can see, B. You'll probably notice various liquors and wines that Captain Morgan, you can see here, and all this. But yeah, we sell all those types of alcohol. But there's the sort, and then the very last one, this one. So that's how sort works. We could sort, let's suppose we want to sort our data by, well, how was it originally sorted? If we go back to here, it was sorted by store, it looks like. That's the way our data is sorted, by store. But suppose we want to sort, it's already sorted by store, but we can, suppose we want to sort by store, but then we also within store want to sort by on hand. So the units of the products, the brands that have the most units on hand will be at the top. Say we'll do it in descending order. So we can do a double sort. So go back to our sort tool. We want to sort by store in ascending order, and then sort by on hand in descending order. Let's run this. Let's look at the output. We're sorted by store, but then within store, say store 1's the first store, because we sorted by store in ascending order. But then we further sorted by the on-hand variable in descending order. So this particular product, Hattersfield 6570 is the brand. Kendall Jackson Chardonnay, I guess, is the type of wine. We have 326 units on hand of that product. We sell that wine in a 750 milliliter bottle. The next item that we only have 312 units on hand of this particular product in store 1. And you see we've sorted first by store and then by the on-hand variable. And then when we move to the next store, when we get down to store 2, so we're still in store 1. Oh, I got to store 2. Yeah, so in store 1, this product, we only have 1 unit on hand. Actually, for all these products, we only have 1 unit on hand. But when we get to store 2, now it starts over the product Jack Daniel's number 7 black, whatever that is, a 1.75 liter flask. We have 355 units of that on hand. So you see how we've done multiple sorts with this sort tool. So that's very powerful. So in summary, you've learned, so starting with a data set that should look familiar to you based on this course, ending inventory. You have a concept of what inventory is. We covered this in chapters 5 and 6 in the book. But based on a data set that should look familiar to you in terms of, in context of what we're doing, inventory, we've illustrated how this formula tool works, how to create formulas for the fields that you have, and then how to use the summarize tool to calculate the sum or the average or the count of any of your variables, or grouping by any of your variables, you can calculate the sum, count, or the average. And then with the sort tool, it's very useful to use that tool to be able to sort your data, sort your output from your summarize tool, or just sort your regular data. And we can do multiple sorts, as many layers as you want. We can add as many layers to the sort tool as we want. So that concludes this video.